Hey, we're here with County Executive Mark Molinaro to talk about the Special Olympics Winter Games, which are coming to the Mid-Hudson Valley and starting right here in Dutchess County. And we're going to talk about a couple other things, too. Hi, Mark. How are you?
Good, Mark. Good to be back.
Thanks for stopping by. Now, of course, the Special Olympics Winter Games on Friday at the Civic Center.
Absolutely. Kickoff opening ceremonies at the Civic Center on Friday night, and then we've got games at Bowdoin Park in Dutchess, the McCann Ice Arena at the Civic Center in Poughkeepsie, and then Holiday Hills out in Sullivan County and Stewart Airport in Orange County, all throughout the day on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. And we're looking for people to be fans in the stands. Is that what we call it?
That's what we call it. We need residents to come on out to any one of the games, fans in the stands, really cheer for these great athletes, and I promise this will be a life-changing experience, really just awe-inspiring.
Yeah, so let's talk about that because you started this Think Differently campaign in Dutchess County.
Yeah, so
initiative, not campaign.
Well,
and so tell people about that, first of all, and how that relates to Special Olympics and how that relates in your life.
Sure. Well, Think Differently is an effort on the part of this community, and it's been embraced by businesses and community organizations throughout Dutchess to embrace every resident regardless of ability. That we want to confront as a society and as individuals this soft prejudice of low expectations, that when sometimes we see an individual with disabilities, we think that they can't achieve, and we assign to them some expectation. For us, we want folks to think differently about how we interact with our friends and neighbors regardless of ability. And for me, it's very personal. I'm blessed with 3 wonderful children. My daughter was born on the autism spectrum. And many times, as a dad, I would compensate for her. And, my wife said, you've got to think differently about how you interact with her, because she can do these things. She can achieve them.
Right.
And as a kid, I'm sure there's plenty of people who can say, as a kid, I just never really had a chance to interact with people with special needs. And I want us today and now and more to really change the way in which we interact with those with disabilities and really embrace every one of our neighbors regardless of ability.
Well, I think it's an important point that you bring up about this, as you call it, soft prejudice and expectations, low expectations, because people do rise up to what we expect them to do and be.
Sure. And by the way, if you say to someone you cannot achieve, they begin to think they cannot achieve.
Right.
So not only do we want to really assign to them high expectations, but we want every individual to reach for their greatest potential. And what Think Differently means is that we aren't going to assign or judge someone based on their ability, but rather work, embrace, support, accept those individuals regardless of ability. And what we found is not only have just about every community in Dutchess County embraced Think Differently, they're building playgrounds and parks to be more accessible. We're training businesses to be more open to employees with special needs, to have support for consumers with special needs. And Dutchess County is doing a great deal. But we have 60 communities now across the state that have embraced Think Differently and have resolved to find new ways to embrace their residents regardless of ability.
Yeah, I just did something on our website about this. The Anderson Center has a program where they work with businesses, and there was a story about a family that wanted to take their child out to dinner. They haven't been out to dinner, and Coppola's restaurant in Hyde Park, who works with the Anderson Center, set this all up. They didn't make them feel like they were any different than any other diners, but they did accommodate the family. It's the first time their child's severely autistic.
Sure.
And so this was the first time that the family actually got to go out and enjoy a dinner.
Well, Dutchess County contracts with the Anderson Center to provide that training. And Coppola's is really one of our poster children, if you will. They really, for personal reasons and business reasons, have found a way to really change the way they do business to embrace those with on the autism spectrum. And what you begin to realize is, and by the way, there are other businesses, and Dutchess is training tourism destinations. We have the FDR site that's focused now on this. Figuring out ways as businesses and as organizations to embrace consumers, visitors on the spectrum. Very little things that you can do to be a welcoming environment. But you said it, you don't realize how significant even the smallest activities that many of us take for granted, how significant they are for those living with disabilities. Dutchess County hosts 2 movies a year where the Roosevelt Cinema and the Bardavon, they turn up the lights, they turn down the sound. It's a sensory inviting, a sensory sensitive environment where those with living on the spectrum, those with special needs can enjoy a movie. We had a family come 2 years ago. It was the first time they had ever taken their daughter to the movie theater. We saw her a year later, and the mother said that movie that Dutchess County sponsored with that business, who's learning how to deal with those with special needs in their business, gave her the courage to take her daughter to a regular matinee. And think about that for a second. Does any of us have to muster up courage to go to the movie theater? And that's the burden and the blessing that families deal with every day. And we just want to make sure that we're more open and more inviting to every resident of every ability.
Well, and I think this is a great thing that the county is doing. But of course, with the Special Olympic Games here, for people who don't have exposure to people that are either on the autism spectrum or have some other sort of disability per se, to come out and come to these games and see what it's really all about.
Yeah, this is the second year we're hosting. I've never been prouder of Dutchess County than I was last year when we turned out in force. And we want folks to show up again this year. And I promise you, it's awe-inspiring and in many ways life-changing. You'll just see some of the best athletes, and more importantly than that, you'll see individuals who really are very passionate about their lives, about their achievement, and you'll just you'll find a way to think differently. They say that it takes a special kind of person to raise a child with special needs, but the truth of the matter is a child with special needs changes you, and when you see these athletes, you'll be changed by it.
All right, County Executive Mark Molinaro, thank you once again for coming to our radio station. And Friday at the Mid-Hudson Civic Center, opening ceremonies. And Dutchess County website, if people want to read more about Think Differently.
Sure. You can actually visit thinkdifferently.net or duchessny.gov. Brings you to the same place.
All right, great. Thank you, Mark.